What's going on, everybody?
What's up, everybody? How you doing today? Welcome to another day of your daily gaming news.
That's right. July 21st, bringing some more going on in the gaming industry. Also, happy Tuesday, everyone.
Happy Tuesday.
I did have to look at a calendar to confirm it was Tuesday.
Really? Getting lost with the days of the week.
Yeah, completely.
I kind of knew what day it was only because I know on Thursday is a big Xbox event coming up, and I'm like, that's 2 days away, so today must be Tuesday.
Must be Tuesday. That's funny. You're like applying the subtraction to the calendar in order to remember. That's hilarious.
Exactly.
Oh my god.
Which brings us into our first topic of today, which is Xbox Summer Game Fest is live, and there are more than 50 show floor demos available.
They said they were doing it, and they have delivered. As Microsoft has announced more than 50 show floor demos during Xbox Summer Games Fest, and they are available to download from the Xbox Live Store, also the Microsoft Store, and Microsoft will hold their game showcase for the Xbox series of consoles on July 23rd.
They have plans to release a whole bunch of demos that will be playable through the Xbox Live Store. Ahead of their event, the Summer Game Fest has gone live with 50 out of the 60 announced games getting a demo on the Xbox Live Store.
So as we know, Summer Games Fest is a part of Jeff Keighley's Game Showcase, which was supposed to be a replacement for E3 2020, which we know was canceled due to COVID. And there were multiple new games and hardware-related announcements made starting from April, and those are going to continue until the end of August.
As part of the Summer Game Fest, Microsoft is offering multiple demos that could have been taken from games that were available on the show floor at E3, but due to their cancellation, they can be played online.
And some of these are for recent games like Destroy All Humans by THQ Nordic, which is out on July 27th. And these demos will be available for a limited time, so if you are in the market for the latest and hottest indie games, perhaps have a look at the demo selection to determine if any of the upcoming games fit your criteria.
I think this is super cool. This is exactly what I want, is just more game demos. And I also like that some of these games aren't, super new. So they're games that if you just wanted to try out, if you wanted to try out in general or all along, you'd be able to get a chance at that. Some of the demos include NBA 2K20, FIFA 20. There's a game called Save Your Nuts, which is about squirrels and acorns. Resident Evil 3, Kova Alpha Link. A lot of games I haven't heard of, and a lot of games I've played, or some that I'm like, hey, I haven't gotten around to playing that game. Like, I want to test out if I'm really going to like it or not.
Yeah, and that's just it. It's this moment of, and you've been on one of these floors at a convention like this, that you were talking about something from your own personal experience, which was like the waiting in line and then the playing it. And if you just waited in line to play it and you're not a big fan of it, how this aspect of getting to just do the demo from home is really strong and something you would prefer. And now here it is. Like, all of us who has access to this can participate in trying some of these games out that some of these indie developers may have never been on our radar.
Yeah, I think it's a lot nicer. I would rather just, even if I have to download it, which probably won't take that long to download a demo, maybe 5 minutes, probably less. I would rather do that than wait in line after I've been walking around all day, and also everyone's touching the controllers, or everyone's touching the VR, and I'm always I feel like a germaphobe, but especially now it is totally justified.
Yeah.
So, and waiting in line for so long. I remember the Resident Evil 2 remake demo, when I saw a booth for that. I think it was 2 and not 3, but the line was wrapped all the way around the whole booth. I think it was 2 hours long to be able to play that demo, and then they had to cap it at the end. And I'm there's no way that I was gonna wait 2 hours to play that demo. And also the fact that they capped it, it's well, that sucks for anyone who came to this convention to play that demo, I guess.
Yeah.
So I'd rather have all these demos online.
I hope this is one of those aspects of we had this conversation when this first happened. Jeff Keighley first announced the Summer Games Fest when we know E3 was going to happen. What's it going to be for games? When are people going to get to see these games in actions? I hope this becomes a trend. I hope this now is a permanent trend within gaming, is that we get to demo these just at home. Maybe give 1 or 2 exclusive experiences at the conventions when we go back and are vaccines there and we're all, behaving, as we were prior. But at least do this. It's 50 out of the 60, right? So it's not all, but it's some. And I think that's kind of a choice that will go a long way with consumers who can't do the flight, can't do the hotel, and can't do the convention cost, that it does add up.
It does add up, and also takes time away from some streamers. If you go to a convention, it's good to go and make connections, but at the same time, you're like losing out on stream time. It's like pretty prime hours to stream during a convention because there's a lot of hype. People are tuning into Twitch, and I think that's also a good opportunity for people that as you said also just can't go to the convention, still be able to create content off of that and add to the buzz and give free publicity to a lot of these games. Honestly,
yes.
So if you want to check out these games, here is the link to the Microsoft Store in the chat. It was just dropped in the chat. If you want to try any of these games, there's a whole variety. There's space games, there's cute donut games, there's like fighter games, pirate games, cube games, puzzle games. There's a huge selection for you to try out. Oh, Coffee Talk's on there.
Nice. And if anyone in chat does try out some of these demos, especially some of these more, unknown indie developers, and you like what you're playing, let us know. Come back in and tomorrow or a future date and just share with us your experience with some of these titles, because I'm going to tell you, I'm not going to play all 50. That's just not something I have.
Won't play them all.
But ultimately, I want to hear what people think about some of these titles. It was like when we learned about In Other Waters. I never would have had any idea about this game until people had started to kind of like mention it and talk about it as the experience. So please do share with us your demo experiences.
Right, we would love to hear what you have to think. And no, that is not a Fridays at Freddy's better title. It's Annie from League of Legends. It's Tibbers, her bear that comes up in her ultimate. But our next topic is a game that you can actually play right now in full.
Yeah, and this one is this is really cool, because if you're looking for a new multiplayer game to sink your teeth into, Rogue Company has just come out. As developer First Watch Games, which is under the Hi-Rez Studios labels, which did Smite and Paladins, has launched their third-person shooter Rogue Company, which is available on PlayStation 4, Xbox One, Nintendo Switch, and PC.
The shooter offers crossplay and cross-progression right from the get-go. So you can see on the screen there's some footage, and we have some pricing available to you about the Founders Packs.
That's right. And so it is available to purchase. You have the Starters Founder Pack, you have the Standard, you have the Ultimate, and they all have different aspects of what you can get from them.
So the Founders Pack, it's $29.99 USD, which is also €29.99 euros and £24.99 pounds. And the Founders Pack gives players early access to Rogue Company, 6 core rogues to choose from: Daima, Dallas, and Ronin, Anvil, Trench, and Saint. Squad unlocked 2 bonus Founders Pack rogues, Phantom and Chak. Rare Founder Spray, an epic superstar dance emote, rare speed Demon Ronin outfit, and epic solar flare weapon wrap.
And the standard Founders Packs also gives you 6 additional rogues, a rare Exterminatin chaotic outfit, and for complete Rogue Company experience, the Ultimate Founders Pack, which is one of the things they're offering, gives you more exclusive outfits, emotes, sprays, 1,500 rogue bucks to spend in game. And for the full list, you can head over to roguecompany.com/founders.
So just note that this is the beta version of the game, with a full version launching later this year. So there is that standard Founders Pack, there's an Ultimate Pack, and you get all these perks while the game is in beta, but the game is available to play right now.
Yeah, and this is Hi-Rez's take on a tactical shooter genre that a lot of us have been looking for, and it is early access on the Epic Games Store. Starting yesterday, and the trailer that was unveiled for its early access launch was shown off at the Summer's Game Fest conference, and it focused on the newest of the game's 12 rogues, the sword-slinging Ronin.
While the genre has become quite busy recently thanks to games like Valorant, Rogue Company tries to differentiate itself by bringing a tiny bit of Battle Royale into the proceedings. Just a little bit. Just a smidge. Instead of each team starting off in a spawn area, each player will skydive in and decide where they land. Whether that will be enough to actually make it stand out in a rapidly crowding genre is anyone's guess, but visually it's pretty cool and a pretty hype start to the game. Just by looking at the gameplay right now, to me, this feels kind of like Valorant and Siege. It's maybe it's just visually
with a little bit of Fortnite.
With a little bit of Fortnite in
Yeah.
it too. And I think that Hi-Rez is honestly like pretty underrated in how good its games are. Like Paladins is a great game, and it's not
Smite
very
was a lot of fun,
popular.
too.
Smite
Yeah.
Smite is super popular, and both of these games are, they're very clean. I seldom or ever hear about cheaters, about hacking.
Yes. Yeah.
Maybe just like the players and toxicity.
Yeah.
But that'll happen in pretty much any game. So I have hopes that, Rogue Company is going to be successful. I hope that Hi-Rez, gets the credit it deserves for making games that work really well and are really fun.
Yeah, I agree. Dizziac, hey, welcome to the DGN family. Thank you for the follow. The thing that I was looking at when I was watching this was that I like how it's like, hey, it's a tactical shooter. It's third person. It's not first person. I'm not a hater of first person, but after a while, you want to change it up, right? You want a different perspective experience. And I also enjoyed the combination of a little bit of battle royale by you dive in and you pick your spot, but you still handle it like a normal like team deathmatch. So, a wonderful way to take an aspect that works, which is we're all landing in and we've got to make a decision when we get there. But then the tactical approach, knowing it's not a last man standing type experience, it itself is you guys got to work together and make sure you're buying the right weapons and your loadouts work really well. And some of the gameplay looked like really exciting to watch as the showdowns happen.
It does, and I've got thanks to Twitch chat, I've got my gun mug, speaking of shooters.
Oh yeah, I saw this photo.
This is a mug. This is not a weapon, but it does make me feel very Resident Evil-y. It makes me feel like I'm in a video game being really extra. I think that this is cool. It also looks like Hi-Rez is going back to more of maybe like a grounded approach to this new game, because Smite is gods and goddesses, Paladins is like creatures or like not quite humans, and this is very clearly just like humans looking cool, like shooting the guns, which I think is a nice way to add to their whole portfolio of the games they have to offer.
Yeah, really, I'm taking that in as you're saying that, is like the creations that we've seen from Hi-Rez is very encouraging for them to as they continue. They're kind of putting themselves in a place that could be similar to like Riot Games, where if they continue to deliver games that very much resonate with the communities that love playing Paladins, love playing Smite, and even ones that are fans of tactical shooters that feel like you were saying like Siege, a little bit of Fortnite with the just the visuals and the aesthetics. I mean, there's a strong possibility we could see Hi-Rez's growth really put themselves at this, hey, we're coming after you, Riot Games. Not going to say they're obviously going to overtake them, but just that pursuit of it, it could become another kind of situation where they themselves become self-sufficient to continue to create and mass distribute some of the titles that you see a lot of the masses jump into.
Yes, we've seen this trend of game companies, having a whole portfolio of games and not just focusing on one, instead of, working under other companies. They're really trying to build their own brand and their own presence in the games that they offer, and in their community building and in their business model.
Yeah, and that's something too that it's like, this is where, for me, I'm the one to say is, I'm going to make a comment as a player of Call of Duty. I'm not a huge fan of Activision Blizzard as a distribution company and some of the stuff that surrounds them, right? But I myself still contribute to Activision Blizzard financially when I buy like COD points and stuff like that. However, I believe strongly in putting in financial support into companies like this, who continue to deliver, who pay attention to their community, places like Riot Games, places like Epic. So if you are someone that's like, hey, I'm looking for something to jump into and it's new, and you want to help support developers like this who clearly look like they are paying attention to what the gaming community wants out of a multiplayer experience like this, go ahead and jump in there. Get one of these founders packs, support them. Let's see if, something like Rogue Company can grow.
I agree. I mean, in this, very capitalistic country we live in, I understand, the need to always grow and always make money, but I'm here for the games. I'm not here to, buy into like a conglomerate. I'm here to support the developers. I'm here to support the people actually, working on those titles. So I agree with you that like it's good to support these companies. Good to support, the content that they're putting out. Even if it's free, even if it's free, like even playing their game, adds adds a lot. It boosts their numbers. People are always looking at, the active player base or users that have signed up.
Yeah.
So even doing that can support some of these companies. And I hope they find more success. It's a tough world out there. In gaming, there's a lot of competition.
That is so true. So we're going to keep our eye on Rogue Company. As remember, when you jump in, it is still in beta and that it is being a full release later this year. But chat, if you jump in and you play and you like it, share with us your thoughts. Tell us how what you think of Rogue Company and if you think it actually has some potential. Nathan, hope you're doing well. Thanks for joining us.
So our next topic of today is another rumor that we've got about Call of Duty Black Ops Cold War and leaks that have come out about it.
Yeah, so as we say with rumors like we did yesterday with Splinter Cell, it's a fact, but it's a rumor. This is from a data mine. So that's why we have to take it with, it could just be, placeholder text. But there's some things there that do stand out. So we do know that the next entry in the Call of Duty series, which is rumored to be Call of Duty Black Ops Cold War, has yet to be officially announced. But some new details on the games are merged online thanks to the Red Door beta that surfaced last week on the Microsoft Store.
Prototype Warehouse data mined the Red Door beta and discovered the names of the main campaign maps. They seem to suggest that the game will take place in Germany, Vietnam, Nicaragua, and Russia. And some of the titles that they found are GER_Stakeout, NAM_Armada, NAM_Prisoner, NIC_Revolution, RUS_America, spelled with a K, RUS, K there, RUS_Duga, RUS_KGB, RUS_Siege, RUS_Yamantau, Side Mission Tundra, and Side Mission Takedown.
Yeah, so this is really interesting information as this pops out. And Prototype Warehouse also discovered some of the names of the Call of Duty Black Ops Cold War multiplayer maps. And also something that I think we all expected, but to see that it's in there, is zombie mode is apparently set to also make a comeback in Call of Duty Black Ops Cold War.
On a related note, the Gaming Revolution recently reported that some users have managed to boot up the Red Door beta. While it currently does not go past the splash screen, the beta suggests that the game's final name may be Call of Duty Black Ops CIA.
So this is a Dizzyak's question of so what's the Red Door thing was about? It just appeared on the Xbox Live Store, and it's the Red Door beta, and it has everything to do with the next Call of Duty game, and it just was there, and some people were able to access it, and some people are data mining it as well to see what information they can pull. So that's really interesting. The Black Ops CIA title, I liked that, but also something that I thought was something to take away is that we know that with the Red Door beta appearing on the Microsoft Store, it suggests that this announcement is imminent, and we should be expecting that, as this is kind of normal for Call of Duty with the way they release their games. And the Xbox Series X Games Showcase event, which is scheduled for July 23rd, right around the corner, would be the perfect occasion to finally announce the game and actually give the access to the Red Door beta.
This year's entry in the Call of Duty series has yet to be revealed, and we'll keep you updated on the game as soon as more comes out about it, so stay tuned for the latest news.
This is I think it's needed right now. There is unfortunately an aspect of modern warfare that is failing, which is just the prevalence of cheating and the aspects of people using peripherals to increase their gameplay. It's fun. The updates are slow. The map really hasn't changed. Not much has really changed. And this is something that I think will breathe new life into it, because a lot of the times when I am playing Modern Warfare, the friends that I play with or I come across, all of them are like, I loved Black Ops. I'm excited for Black Ops, and I want that battle royale more than I want this current Modern Warfare.
I was going to ask chat as well, what is the current state of Warzone? I'm not really a Warzone player. I'm more a Fortnite player. And are you still playing it? Are you getting fatigued by it? Are you more playing the multiplayer mode of Modern Warfare versus the Battle Royale of Warzone? I don't know if people are just generally getting tired of it. The friends I know that play Warzone, they're not even there to play Warzone. They're just there to hang out with their friends. And they're like, well, my friends play Warzone, so that's why I'm playing Warzone. But I don't really want to play.
Same. I mean,
really?
found great synergy with a former friend of mine, an old friend of mine that I first met on original Modern Warfare back in my teens.
Wow.
And then, we've, rekindled and started playing together again. So we've been winning a lot together, but it really is like, it's just a place for us to hang out, play with our friends that we know, get the wins when we get them. And then we have just been talking about like, yeah, I want something new. Like the map change. There hasn't been really like a change in the actual like experiences like they said they would.
Mm-hmm.
And the whole inability to have multiple like modes of Warzone is a bummer.
Right, there's like the classic BR mode or like I don't know what it's called, but it was like the hardcore survivalist mode.
Yeah, classic trios.
Yes,
yeah.
But then they'll be like removed after a few days.
Yep.
Diz and Kane both say I play multiplayer when I play Warzone. It's with friends, playing multiplayer more than playing Warzone itself. That's like the general thing that I've heard or the trend that I've seen. I'm really curious about, this new Call of Duty game. People are all about zombies, and I think, that's the one thing that a lot of players are really looking forward to or really want, to come back again is the zombies aspect. Looking at the campaign maps of, Prisoner, America, KGB, I always wonder, I guess just on a side note, I'm like, what does Russia think about all this, like, America versus Russia, like, lore in video games? I'm like, is this appropriate? But it seems like a cool theme to go off on for the next installment.
Yeah, and that's kind of where I think everyone is at right now, is like, just give us the details. Like, tell us it's official. We know it's going to happen. It's always the case. Mm-hmm. You have the title come out from, Infinity Ward, and either Treyarch's coming out with theirs or Sledgehammer Games when they were doing them as well. And I think it's now at that place, especially with this Red Door beta. The 23rd is right around the corner. All this conversation happening within the Summer Games Fest as we were speculating and talking about this information. Mm-hmm. Just solidify it. Just let us know so that we can get ready for something new. And knowing this is probably going to be, I would say, and I hope, Treyarch is taking notes from the failures that Infinity Ward has done with Modern Warfare and are going to make sure to not have those in their title.
I wonder how they're going to address Black Lives Matter in the next title, because we saw with Warzone and Infinity War, they had a big Black Lives Matter thing, but I've still seen tweets, every now and then that come up that's like, this person in chat called me the N-word. Why is this allowed? Like, you're saying Black Lives Matter, but like, why don't you just address the chat and like these like usernames? They're like, do the thing that you said you were gonna do.
Oh my God. So I'll be honest, like some people recently, I've seen some usernames that like when me and my team end up killing them and we see like, we're like, that, how is that name like, not getting banned? Like, we'll report the name afterwards. We'll go into recent players and report the username, and we're just like, how is this even getting through?
How is this allowed? And then I'll also see points that are like, oh, well, if like Call of Duty like did that and really crunched down, they wouldn't have a player base yet anymore, which I hope is far from true. I think is an exaggeration. I think it's just kind of like sitting back and accepting the culture that is Call of Duty. And I'm like, no, if like I don't think the whole player base is racist. Yes. Like, just get rid of the racists, please.
It's so true. Like, anytime we'll play with some solos and see that type of stuff, they'll even say it. They'll be like, how does somebody have that name? Or like, what is going on? Are they actually banning the cheaters? Are they actually doing anything to deal with the problems that are within their game? And it's clear they're not. And that's where I feel like the surge will happen. As Dizyak was saying, like, I'm looking for a new COD game, is like they're going to shift right over to this next Call of Duty title, as long as those developers are solving these problems that the community right now is being very vocal about.
Right. Cillian says, what about the guys who use clan tags like BLDM? I think those things should be removed. I mean, I remember I signed up for like a PlayStation username and I tried to use the word heroine with an E, like a female hero. And that's not allowed because it's too close to the drug. And I'm like, okay, this sucks, but I get it. And so I think it's okay to err on more on the side of like to not allow things, because I think players would go like, well, that sucks. That takes away my fun. I'm just trying to be a female hero, but I get it.
Yeah, that's
it's not
so
about
weird.
Me.
I've done like quick chats to people on my friends list while in game, and it'll block words that I'm like, why is it blocking this? But it won't block this. Like I'll be like, I want to test something. I'll be like, oh, okay, not gonna block that word, but it blocks 4 letters within a word that has nothing to do with some sort of like vulgarity or insult. It's just, I don't know what's going on there. And that's the part of this where I think this is exciting and gets a lot of interest. And you see like when rumors of the next Call of Duty game is rummaging, people begin to like look at it because they're like, hey, I'm done with this. I'm ready for something else. But like you were saying before, all my friends are here. So this is where I'll stay until we can transition over.
I also agree with, I hope that there's more information coming out about this. I think hearing a new announcement would actually maybe get me back into playing Modern Warfare. I'm like, oh, there's a new installment out. Like, I should, you know, brush up on my, like, Call of Duty chops and, you know, like get back into this game in anticipation of the next one. I wonder if that'll also cause a resurgence for other players. But I hope that, I mean, it's for this year or the end of the year that this game is you know, planning on being announced. So I'm surprised we haven't really heard anything yet.
Yeah, so this announcement, if to be true, keep an eye out on the 23rd when that reveal happens for some of these Xbox titles and these new games. And of course, the Summer's Games Fest is going all the way through till August. So, you know, we have time to hear more about this title that we're expecting to see fully released sometime October, November of this year.
Oh no, Diz says I can't even use my thick clan tag anymore. Oh, that sucks. Yeah, and then maybe we could all play together. I know Marrone plays Call of Duty. That would be cool if we had a little like DGN like run of it.
Right? Yeah, do like a little DGN run and see how it goes.
Yeah.
I love it. Oh, but outside of Call of Duty, which we talk about and we're excited for, another title which we talked about some information yesterday on that blew our mind, and another and more information has come out as Cyberpunk 2077 just continues to deliver information that I'm like, I need this game on my hard drive immediately. Give it to me now.
The news on Cyberpunk just keeps getting better and better, as Cyberpunk 2077 NPC relationships will depend on player choices and not physical appearances.
So, this is one of the most anticipated video games coming this year. And with its futuristic setting, its promised mechanics, featured popular actors starring in it, and the sprawling night city with what it offers to players. And then stuff we talked about yesterday, which you can ignore the entire main storyline and still complete the game. It's a city that we know of where we're going to see many different types of NPCs with different races, genders, modifications, preferences, and many other factors.
One of the concerns of many gamers right now for this game is how will the NPCs react to the customized characters they've created? Would their relationships be affected by their gender? Would some quests be deprived from them because they choose to be male or female? Lead quest designer Powell Sasko explains how NPCs will perceive the customized characters.
So according to Sasko, this is a particular issue for the game studio since this is quite sensitive for society these days. In the game, though, NPCs will perceive the player's customized characters depending on how the character was built.
Sasko goes on to say, how you create your character is influenced by what type of body you have, whether it is male or female, but the voice you choose affects how the characters you meet perceive you and what pronoun they address to you, i.e. how you identify as a character. For us, the world of Cyberpunk and the future is something that in Mike Pondsmith's pen and paper role-playing game was a very progressive approach to the very concept of a character and what a human is as a person.
So players are given a lot of freedom to create their own characters in-game. And this was one of the reasons for CD Projekt's Red to separate from the genitalia choice, from body choice, and voice choice. They wanted players to define their characters however they want them to be. And these choices will actually be very important in the game.
NPCs will identify the characters the players created with the voice they choose. This will also affect how these in-game characters will address each other in the game. The important factor that the game studio is looking for is how they approach the narrative with the plot.
So Sasko revealed that the characters that players meet in the game will have their own preferences. He explained that NPCs will not judge the player's character's body, background, voice, or the sexual organs that they choose. They can actually become their friends or lovers depending on the choices the players make in games. And these preferences that they have might actually affect slightly, but ultimately it will be about the decisions that the players make.
Sasko continued, thanks to this, you'll be able to create your individual story and relationship with that particular character. Will you develop a friendship or a romantic relationship between you and lead to doing things and an intimate, close relationship? It is in your hands.
I mean, in the real world, gender and physical appearance might affect relationships as well as how you approach that particular person, but it will be different in Cyberpunk 2077. It will be more about the choices that you make in game and live with those consequences.
Cyberpunk 2077 will launch this coming November 19th on PlayStation 4, Xbox One, Google Stadia, and PC. PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series X versions will launch when the next-gen consoles will be released.
To Salone's question regarding the Fable endgame, what's the endgame going to be like? Right now, all we know of with Cyberpunk 2077 isn't necessarily that there is an endgame content or a new game plus. We don't know anything about that. What we do know regarding story is, like I was saying earlier, and we reported on this yesterday, is you could play the entire game and never touch any of the main story missions and complete the game.
Mm-hmm. And I was thinking of Fable at first when I heard about this as well, because I know, like, if you get tattoos in Fable, it, like, affects your, like, scariness, or your haircut affects your charisma, and people will treat you differently based on how you look. And I'm very curious as to how Cyberpunk will approach this, because it seems like they're trying to make, they're being very progressive in that, like, in some of the things you do, people won't perceive you differently because at the end of the day, you are a human. But also, you know, the choices you make and, you know, maybe some of how you choose to build your character also has an effect. So I think it's really cool that they're doing this, and I wonder how it'll play out, because I know that this is this can be a very tricky topic to really, you know, take on.
That's so true. And for me, it's just one of those moments of, again, getting more information, echoing things they were saying earlier on when they first started talking about this title. One of those things being the modifications, right? They were saying that there is a black market within Night City that you will discover at some point. And these people will give you military grade modifications that you can only have access to if you are a member of this certain organization that gives you access to it, or you've illegally obtained it, which if people see that you have military grade technology and these NPCs are either connected to this organization or aware it's illegal, they'll actually treat you differently by seeing you have illegally modified your body. So that's something in that tiny detail of being like, that's really awesome. You never know who you'll come across, what they're going to do if they see this, how it's going to be approached. And now to know that it even goes down to your decision making is more important. I was like, yes, this is something I like.
I love Kane's comment of, where do I pay? Just take my money now. Kai says, are they going to give me a disgusted look as I'll dress in whatever you found with the best armor? You're like, stats only, nothing about the appearance of it. Cilion says, game of the year? I hope so, honestly. I mean, I hope this game lives up to the hype. I think if it does live up to, you know, all these features that it's promised, I would be surprised if any other game beat this to be game of the year. I think that it's really cool with the features of the voice and, you know, how your body is built and your gender and your pronouns. I think it's cool that this is in the game. I hope we see more articles about how, you know, that might shed light on the trans community and really, you know, really welcome them more into the gaming space, that you're able to do this. Gaming is still, we're going to get into it later with an article about Ubisoft and Assassin's Creed, but it's already been such a fight just to get, like, women characters in video games, that this is also such a leap forward, and that you can change your voice and how you look and the, you know, the reproductive organs that you have to really reflect whatever character you want to make. I think that's a big leap forward for, like, human rights in video games. I know a lot of video games try to stay out of politics, but some things are just inherently political and you can't really shy away from.
Unfortunately, yes. Or individuals make it necessary to politicize them because it either helps their case or pushes them in that. And that's something that I think is going to be very strong with Cyberpunk. Is one of the comments that you have heard in the past is regarding the politics surrounding Night City. We understand it's very, reminiscent of what we're going through now. It's in certain divides that exist, and the way or I forget what they refer to as their currency, but their credits within Night City are achieved, or how those who have it, they have the status, or they have this access to more that Night City has to offer. And they've talked about Night City not being like very like wide and open, but more like vertically spread out. So that's where a lot of the discovery will come from. And in that journey of discovery with this customization of your character, the replay value is huge. And for content creators, this is major. For streamers who go, you know what, I'm going to focus on Cyberpunk 2077 as my game to stream, where I'm going to do this playthrough with a character like this, and now I'm going to create this whole new character with this other backstory. We're going to do an entire playthrough, and I'm just going to make all different decisions like I previously did, and get new, fresh, exciting content to put up on their channels and on their streams.
Thanks so much, Kai, for the dono.
Hey, Kai, thank you so much.
Yeah, I think if you wanted to, you could be playing this game for years and years to come, which for me, I'm kind of like, oh no, because I just try to like play the games to get through them and move on to the next title, because there's so many titles that come out. But I think it's super, like, the replayability just seems phenomenal with all the different threads they were talking about, and you don't have to touch the main story thread. And there are so many ways to solve each, a lot of these side missions.
Too. Like 12 different ways to approach one mission.
Right, which is wild. So even if you follow the same story, you could still solve the missions in different ways. And there's just, I'm thinking about speed running. Like, how are you supposed to speed run this? I feel like there's maybe like a shortest routes to finish the game. But there are just so many, ways you can break off from
I will say
the main story.
The idea of speedrunning, I need to see the developers from CD Projekt Red live react to anyone who attempts to speedrun this game. I gotta see that, because I can't even imagine, with everything that they're putting into this game, why would you speedrun it? You know what I mean? Right. I get it to do the status, but like, it just spoils everything that's in there for you to discover and have this amazing time with. All these years that they're putting into making it so good. I need to see the live reaction.
Oh my God, I wonder what they would think. I remember I had a friend who like wrote for a TV show and spent like a full year on it, more than that. And I was like, oh yeah, I finished it in 2 days. And he's like, I spent so long on this show, and you just consumed the whole thing in 2 days, and that's it.
Yeah. That's so funny. Yeah. And that's where it is it's kind of like, it's like, how do you want to experience this? And that's great too, because I think their perspective is going to be, well, just like we gave you the freedom of expression in your customization and the type of character you are, we're giving you freedom of how do you want to play this game? Mm-hmm. Do you not want to play the main story? Fine, we got you covered. Do you only want to, focus on the main story? Fine, we got you covered. What's the kind of character you want to be? We got you covered. My hat's off to CD Projekt Red. I really do hope this game delivers, and I do hope, as what someone was saying earlier in the chat, game of the year for this time.
I think so too. I'm also wondering what kind of mods are going to be coming out about this game in the future. Because I was thinking about when I played Skyrim, Serana was the coolest character, and I was like, I want to marry Serana, and she's not. You can't marry her. You can't give her an Amulet of Mara. In the vanilla version, I've actually seen like an r/relationship advice post on Reddit where some guy was like, my girlfriend downloaded a mod specifically to marry Serana. Like, should I be worried? Like, is she a lesbian now? Is she going to end a relationship over this mod just to marry Serana? I wonder, how many NPCs you'll be able to have relationships with. I think it's always so funny how many people will play like Assassin's Creed Odyssey and will turn it into like dating simulator as much as they can.
Yes.
I think there's definitely a community that, really likes that aspect of these games.
Yeah, and now that they've kind of mentioned that with this, I wonder who will do that for Cyberpunk 2077. Is like, I just play it as a dating sim. I'm just trying to date all the NPCs. You know what I mean? Like, how many successful, romantic relationships are they able to pull off? I mean, that's what I mean is when we were talking about like content creation for this game, it just seems endless.
It does.
For this Night City experience, and just how you choose to go about it. I'm excited to see what people do when they play this game. And you mentioned mods. I can't even wrap my head around mods right now, but I know those are also going to be just vastly impressive.
Me too. I think there are infinite possibilities. I'm like really excited for this game to come out. I wonder how much time I'm going to end up, playing in it. Probably a lot. As we said, the possibilities really are endless, and this game just seems so intense and cool.
It really does.
They've been dropping so many cool, features of the game with the lore master and that whole episode with not having to follow the main story, with having the decisions on your character, affecting how you interact with NPCs. There's just so much good news coming out of this game, and it seems like we're probably going to hear a lot more before the game ends up being launched.
Yeah, and that's the same kind of moment like when they first announced Keanu Reeves' character being as big as it is, and I remember seeing like comments being like, "You had me at Keanu Reeves." Yeah. You know what I mean? And I was like, yes. Yeah, knowing how big his character is in this game, I'm excited to see how he's portrayed, what he does with the character, what are the choices, how wide, how much impact does Johnny Silverhand's character have on the main story, since they did. This was one of the really cool facts. He loved the game so much. He wanted to have a bigger character role in it. So they took his character, was just supposed to be this little kind of like small cameo, and made him the second most character with lines in the game outside of the main character. So that right there is like, what do they do? What are we going to see with his character? He's got that many lines. That's got to be a lot of potential, story lines to play out.
I wonder if we're going to get like a special episode on Keanu Reeves' role in this game, or if it's just kind of going to be the surprise of like, all you need to know is Keanu Reeves is in this and we know that you're going to buy this game. Like, go have fun, instead of, like really showing us what kind of things and what kind of things you can do with him, or what kind of character he is, what kind of missions you'll go on. I'm really curious to see. Thank you so much, Kate, for gifting a sub.
Hey, thank you for that gift sub. Hey, nice. That's awesome. The TGN fam is just so good. I love seeing just all of this wholesome synergy here going on. Keep it up, guys. Seriously, we appreciate it.
Me too. I slotted in this next story because we haven't talked about this game for a while, and I know you haven't played it for a while, but I thought this might be some fun news.
So this is an interesting one. As someone who I would say lifed Rocket League and played it from PlayStation, rebought it onto PC when I made the jump because I was advancing in skill. And then the news came out that Epic Games took over Rocket League, and we knew it eventually was going to be a free-to-play experience on the Epic Games Store. But now it is very much a confirmation, as if you own Rocket League on Steam, you'll still be able to keep playing it on Steam after it goes to free-to-play at the end of the summer. However, new PC players will be able to finally pick up their copy of a free-to-play version of Rocket League from the Epic Games Store.
The Steam version will get full support for future updates and features, says Psyonix, and you'll still be able to do all the things you could do before, like buy items or the Rocket Pass, i.e. spend money in the game. And just as you can currently play with console players, you'll be able to party up with and compete against those who have the Epic Store version of Rocket League. Psyonix is also adding support for cross-platform inventories and progression if you link an Epic account, and that'll come along with this update.
So anyone who's already played Rocket League online or does so before the free-to-play update will get a bunch of in-game items as a good nod to the $20 that they spent. And here's the loot, in Psyonix's words, is all Rocket League branded DLC released before free-to-play, estimated 20 times X, which is a decal that you can get, will display this year when the players who first started playing Rocket League will get 200 plus common items upgraded to legacy quality, a golden Cosmos boost, the Dicey Oro wheels, Huntress player banner, and those who played Rocket League online before today's announcements will also get the faded Cosmos boost.
How are those items? What do you think of those items?
The one thing about Rocket League that they did that really just kind of upset the community is they seemingly overpriced a lot of these items now that you can get through what used to be blueprints out of crates. So some of these are cool, and people I see in the chat like Rocket League and thought it was fun. I was the kind of individual that I got to top 1%, and then I had to stop playing because I was just like, it's either try to go pro at this game or invest time in another game. There's not much else to do with it.
The chat asks, is the free-to-play limited? I don't think so. It seems like this won't be one of those like limited, have to get it right now on the Epic Games Store, redeem it this week to get free. It seems like this will just be, this will just live free on the Epic Store. So this news isn't too surprising because Team Fortress 2 went free-to-play 4 years after it was released, and Rocket League turned 5 this month. Happy birthday, Rocket League. Going free has become expected for successful multiplayer games and for unsuccessful ones, but they usually make the change quickly as kind of a desperation move.
Yeah, and it is, however, the biggest change being made to Rocket League since Psyonix was bought by Epic. The other big change happened when Epic and Psyonix ditched those loot boxes that I was talking about, and I added this item shop, which was last year. And there was a bit of a fairly standard amount of modernization in a world that was becoming increasingly hostile towards randomized rewards, which is why they got rid of it and created this new one. Psyonix also dropped Linux and Mac support earlier this year.
Psyonix hasn't said exactly when the free-to-play update will happen, except that it'll be sometime this summer. If you want to own Rocket League on Steam, for some reason, time is officially running out, although we can't imagine anyone who hasn't bought the game already cares to spend $20 on the game. But you can try it when it'll be free on the Epic Store. If you want to spend $20 and get all those free items, I guess you still can't for now.
Yeah. And then we do have the one question is, how does Valve feel about this whole thing? I mean, it'll still take its cuts from the transactions in the Steam version, which is played by many thousands of owners every day, but it must have some feelings about the store page becoming inert to potential new Steam players.
I saw a tweet, I don't know if it was by Slasher on Twitter, but someone said that this might be the best opportunity for Rocket League to become, a tier 1 esport because more people will be able to play. What do you think about that? Do you think this will cause a resurgence?
There are quite a few pros asking for Rocket League to change and acknowledging that this, while every time you play Rocket League, you're going to get a new experience, which is what is addicting to that game. Mm-hmm. The evolution of your technical skill. The culture of the game has shifted a lot. It became very toxic. I used to call it Toxic League. It also just didn't have the variety to it that you wish it had. There was a lot of asking for like a volleyball version of the game, or maybe more like a tennis version of the game. Like add these different features. And Psyonix has not updated their servers in a long time, so there was constant issues with a game that is so dependent on how fast the response time is from your PC to their servers to what's going on in game. Lag can actually cause you to lose, and in esports cause you to lose major money that is on the line. So there's a lot of these elements that will happen, that have happened and surrounded Rocket League, that some of the OGs like Lethamyr, like Squishy Muffins, like Kronovi have just kind of like addressed like it's what they play because it's what they've built their name on. But I don't know if it's ever going to be able to be quote unquote tier 1 without some fundamental changes.
I know a while ago you mentioned the servers as well, and how, at the end of the day, if the servers aren't good, you can't play the game. I mean, I've demoted like 2 or 3 ranked tiers in League of Legends just because of lag blips sometimes in the game. I can't imagine, how much of an effect that would have, if I were a pro player. That would, really just be horrible. I'd be like, I can't play this game with lag. There's no way to win. I have to be twice as good, to overcome lag as well with my skills. And
it got worse into quarantine. Like I had put it down, I played more, and then I went back and played, and then just the internet issues. I got my highest MMR in that game is 1680, and pros play at like 1800 to 2000. And some of the best players are like 2200. So I was pushing my way towards
you were getting there.
That height. But I had losses on my rank due to just having a lag spike on a specific shot, or trying to block, or just trying to make sure that, I was trying to be a part of the play. And these would happen, and it would just be like, there's nothing I can do about that. There's literally, I have to just accept it. And their MMR system is terrible. It's not done well. People complain about it all the time. You're very your reward for winning is very small, and your loss for losing is very large, and it just doesn't make any sense when you actually like add it up.
Right, and it's so disappointing. Chad says some people say you've got to learn to play with the lag. I think you do to an extent. For example, in the Smash community, there's a lot of online play happening right now because they can't have LAN tournaments. But in the offline tournaments, they're like that's where people usually deem the best players. But online, It's like these are the best players online. Like this person is good online. That doesn't necessarily mean they're the best player. And like just because someone is bad at online play doesn't mean that they're a bad player. It's kind of like its own separate subset. Yeah. We've talked about that, with I think the Call of Duty League, with CDL, how with playing online, there's just kind of that asterisk on the end of it of these are online matches. There will be some lag. It won't be perfect. It's a bit different than just general esports. And I think to have an esport, you do have to have, a strong connection, no lag, in order to really show off who has the better skills.
That and that is true. Also, something as just a player of Rocket League since 4 or 5 years ago, and I stopped 3-4 months ago, as being as consistent. The culture around the way the game's carried out changed. It used to feel a lot more like soccer when it was soccer and football when it was first early on conceived, but now it's turned more into like hockey and a little bit more like rugby, where the culture of the gameplay used to not be bumping and demoing people, but then there was a team that won the RLCS, and how they won was they just demoed the other team consistently, and then that became the meta. And so that's what you see now. And for me, I'm a person that's like, shoot it, let me block you. Don't come in and demo me and bump me out of the way.
It's a different game.
It became different. Yeah, and I wasn't a big fan of that becoming the meta, and it just didn't change, and was not something I wanted to insert into my gameplay.
I wonder if with these new players coming in, by getting the game free on the Epic Store, if they'll also just kind of fall into that meta of demoing a lot and having it more be like a rugby type game versus soccer, and being focused on the ball and blocking the ball instead of going after other players as well. I wonder if they're going to kind of fall into that, or if maybe we'll see if some of those players get good enough, maybe they'll introduce new types of gameplay to the game.
Yeah, we'll have to see. Hopefully, it can bounce back and it can make some changes. But I have low expectations.
Oh no! So our next and last topic is the one that I kind of briefly mentioned earlier. So we've been talking about Ubisoft, leadership being rooted out of Ubisoft due to allegations, and there was this new report that came out that claims Assassin's Creed developers were pressured into minimizing the female protagonists in the game, which I was really surprised to read this actually.
Yeah, I was too, as the report, which investigated these recent reports of harassment, abuse, and toxicity within Ubisoft, outlines how the publisher's culture of misogyny and machismo was impacting the games it produced.
According to Bloomberg, Assassin's Creed Syndicate was originally going to feature a more even split between its two playable leads, twins Jacob and Evie Fry. After meddling from executives, including recently resigned Sergei Hasquet, sorry, butchered that name, the balance became much more skewed in Jacob's favor. In the final game, it's a rough 40-60 split between Evie and Jacob, even though at the beginning it was supposed to be even.
This pattern emerged again for Assassin's Creed Origins. The original story saw the protagonist, Bayek, killed off early in the game to be replaced by his wife, Aya. In the final game, Aya has a massively reduced role, with her only really starring in a few ship combat segments, while Bayek became the primary lead.
A year later, Assassin's Creed Odyssey was going to originally only feature Cassandra as its player character, which I didn't know. Hasquet and unnamed people working with Ubisoft's marketing department claimed that games with women leads wouldn't sell. And there's a similar thing with like movies. Executives think that that movies with female leads won't sell. This is unfounded. It's based on no research. So Ubisoft was worried that women leads wouldn't sell, and so Cassandra's brother Alexios was included as an alternative lead, which this was surprising to me because I always assumed that Alexios was the main character and they kind of added on Cassandra as a secondary versus the opposite.
Yeah, so while Cassandra is still the canon protagonist of Odyssey, it always felt like the decision to have an interchangeable lead made it more difficult for the writers to develop either Cassandra or Alexios as their own characters. and knowing that it was a decision forced upon the team by executives now accused of harassment and abuse leaves an even worse taste in our mouths.
Sergei Hesketh was Ubisoft's chief creation officer and was described as the creative force of Ubisoft and one of its most powerful employees behind CEO Yves Guillemot. He was responsible for greenlighting games and could alter the direction of any development as he saw fit. Before he resigned from Ubisoft earlier this month, he had been accused by French newspaper Libération of toxicity, misogyny, homophobia, libidinous behavior, and even drugging people with marijuana-laced cakes without their knowledge, which is also news to me.
Wow, that was news to me. Oh my God, what a horrible human being.
That's so horrible.
So his resignation came as a part of a cleanup operation within Ubisoft. Allegations have reached all aspects of the publisher, with executives, developers, and HR all being accused of fostering horrific working environments rife with abuse. On July 2nd, Guillemot outlined the company's response, including third parties coming in to reform HR policies and investigations into all of the allegations that have been made.
However, Guillemot has since come under fire for being the CEO of the company while all of this was going on, with people arguing that he both knew and tolerated the environment until it became too big of a PR headache for him to ignore.
And it's been years since there was a major Ubisoft release with a sole woman lead. While Assassin's Creed Liberation starred Aveline, that was a handheld spinoff and not given the same prominence as its contemporary Assassin's Creed 3.
If you ignore smaller indie-ish titles like Child of Light, the last major Ubisoft game to star a woman as the sole playable character was 2004's Beyond Good and Evil. The answer to this problem isn't just to drop a woman in every once in a while and call it a day, but it's to ensure the environment at studios is receptive to diverse voices and stories free from the biases of its executives, something that has been severely lacking under Hesketh's management.
Having character creators where you can pick your character gender isn't a problem, and neither is having men lead your games. The problem comes when stories that could have been told from a woman's perspective are instead diluted by shoving a man in there for unfounded fears that the game won't sell without one.
Imagine an Origins where Aya had to avenge both her son and her husband, or an Odyssey that really explored the gender dynamics of ancient Greece. More importantly, imagine if the people making those games could have done it in an environment that was safe and free from the alleged harassment by executives and managers and from gaslighting by the publisher's HR department.
You know, just hearing this is one of those moments of like, man, I funded some of these games.
Right.
I put money into Ubisoft. I had no idea what was going on. And now I feel like I contributed towards people's paychecks who behaved this way. Like there's like a sense of just kind of like dirtiness that I feel from this. And I'm just so upset that this was happening this whole time.
It's so horrible and it's beyond gross. And I think it kind of brings to light how I'm over here being like, why can't any game you can play like whatever looking character you want? And it's like, I always just kind of thought that maybe that it fell on deaf ears, that these game studios don't care. They're like, whatever, like we're going to, come out with whatever characters we think will sell the most, versus, being able to read that, these developers, these people working at these companies really want, this option, really want to explore gender biases, really want to have female leads. And they're also fighting against a higher force saying like, no, we can't have that won't sell. I think it's also very telling that this kind of behavior happened at like top tier leadership at Ubisoft, and I think that probably really did trickle down. And I think that it's good that these people are out of the business, hopefully for the foreseeable future and beyond, because as chat was reacting and I was reading like what that guy did, it's like, you can't call yourself a professional and behave that way. That's not acceptable at all. Yeah,
and I want to add something to what Kai Almighty said, just because I agree, is like there were good developers. Not everyone at Ubisoft was bad. It was these specific people who committed these horrible choices. They had a chance to be a better human being, and they chose the opposite, evil within their heart, and make these choices. For those who are good over at Ubisoft, and for those that Ubisoft that didn't know this was going on, or didn't know what to do, because a lot of the times you are aware bad behavior is going on and you don't know how to address it, fear you're going to lose your job or all these things that come along with it. I really hope that this culture begins to shift and change. And if Guillemot the CEO is someone who truly is being true when he said, if I was aware of these things, I would have addressed them early on as I'm addressing them now. That this is a permanent change, that we'll never hear of something like this again. Right. And that this will be always reported as Ubisoft is a wonderful place to work. It has shifted away completely. It'll never be this place again. But if at one moment Ubisoft has a black eye regarding harassment or sexual, allegations or some form of abuse towards its coworkers, I would say that we just need to just pull the plug on Ubisoft as a consumer. That's the way to hit them where it hurts.
Right. And someone mentioned earlier of like, oh, well, we see a lot of women in games. What are you talking about? And this article brings to light that it's like, yes, oftentimes because people had to really fight for that to happen. And there's a lot of pushback. I mean, this also makes me think of Abby in The Last of Us 2, which I still haven't played, but I've seen so much about Abby, who's a woman character, and she has muscles. She looks really strong. And that caused uproar for some reason. And it's also like the vocal minority of the internet. But it seems like some of these executives or former executives really, accepted that of like, oh, the internet says they don't want this, therefore we won't do this, versus just like saying like, no, this is the reality of what people look like. Like, we're the creatives, we can do what we want. We can have games that operate like with the, with the vision of people that we think there should be. So I hope that Assassin's Creed, in the future, goes down a good path. It seems with Valhalla, it's cool that Ivor you can play as, either a man or a woman. It would be cool maybe in the future we'll see like a genderless or like a non-binary kind of character to even, move a step further down that road of being, progressive and more accepting, and, seeing that gender isn't really that important sometimes in games, or if they do want to explore that, there's a lot of content there that they can really explore.
Lots of stories that you can tell with those narratives. And just to answer some of the question Kai was asking in there, I want to make sure that this is clear, is the CEO is claiming he was unaware of what was going on, and that the executives underneath him who were doing this, it was not information he was aware of, which is why once it became public, he immediately went through and started letting go of people, doing an internal investigation and all this stuff. Some people are claiming he was aware. It's very hard for me to believe that a CEO of a company like this isn't hearing allegations like this. Do you know what I mean? So I'm in that place of saying, allegations. I'm not going to accuse him of something that I have no evidence of, but it's very hard for me to believe he isn't, aware of it. Right. However, that being said, if the shift forward is one where it never happens again, good. And if it ever comes to light that he was aware of it, he needs to be removed.
Right. It's hard, as Kane says, it's hard to believe that he wasn't aware of it, but he could still make a change and change the company for the better. All is not lost, but there's going to have to be some change in leadership or a big overhaul of company culture. Yeah. And not to really end on a sad note, but I think this is also something to say the positive spin on this is change is a good thing, because it is really the only thing in life that we are ever guaranteed. I said it yesterday and I said it today, is like our evolution. We change in terms of our physical structure. We change in terms of our societal behaviors. We're always changing. And I think though it hurts right now to see that this stuff was happening, the change is good so that the future won't hold these moments ever again. But that does bring us to the end of our news segment for today. Thank you so much for joining us on our kind of heavy set of topics today. Besides, Rocket League is going to be free, and there's Xbox games demos.
Rogue Company came out. More Cyberpunk 2077 news.
Don't forget, download those demos. Let us know how you like them. Anyone who's still playing Ghost of Tsushima, give us your updates of, if the game is still blowing your mind, if you've taken photos in photo mode. But this stream doesn't end because we're going to be playing reruns again. So if you want to stick around and hang out, leave a lurk, would be super appreciated. We're just trying to keep the channel live a little longer to grow the DGN family.
Yeah, to get that DGN fam so big, because one of the things is we also show our previous episodes on YouTube. So if you go to YouTube to check out our previous episodes, you can check them out there and see the ones that have taken place. But Also to like and subscribe. Remember, if you're watching it live Monday through Friday, we are here. Kaisa and I are doing daily gaming news from 1 p.m. to 2 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, where we're bringing you the latest in the gaming industry. And you could be someone like the silly one. I think the So Silly One is the name now that I realize it. Being a part of the DGN family, happy that you found it, glad that you enjoyed it, and continue to bring that gaming news that we all look for.
Thank you so much for joining us for Daily Gaming News. I am Kaisa.
I am Marrone. We appreciate you all, DGN fam.
See you next time.